viewer. This is Kuku Wach with me, Jeff Oloo Mbaka. It's an electioneering period, and nowadays we're still going on discussing things related to elections, which are just a month away. In the studio, I have a guest who is an independent candidate running for the seat of presidency. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Greet our viewers, and maybe you tell them your name and maybe your county.
Hello viewers, my name is Peter Solomon Gichira. I come from Machakos County, and it's a pleasure to be in Lolwe Studios.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Solomon Peter Gichira. Maybe to start us off, you'll just tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Peter Solomon Gichira?
Wow. I'll just say I'm an ordinary Kenyan,
yes,
out there who is a bit agitated by the way things are going, wanting or craving to make a difference,
yes,
in the way our country is being run. And just to say that I'm not very old, I'm not very young. I was born in 1971, 1st February, and I'm retired. We'll talk about that in a short while.
You are retired?
I'm retired. I retired myself.
You retired yourself?
At the age of 44.
At the age of 44.
Yes, and so I schooled, I was born in Machakos, raised up in Machakos. I schooled in Machakos from primary school. Went to Kaba High School. That is where Tomboya used to be.
Yes.
And then after that I went to the University of Nairobi, where I did a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and Philosophy. Then I did a Master's in Environmental Planning and Management, and I'm a candidate for PhD,
yes, in
Environmental Policy at KSLAP, which is at the School of Law. Yes.
That's encouraging. And now, why politics and why presidency?
Politics, as you've heard, my background is political science.
Yes.
So even the environment, I'm looking at it from a political perspective. And I was told when I joined my first year at the university,
yes,
that life is political. Everything that you do is political. It's about who gets what,
yes,
when and how. And so if that is how society is, and a society including our country, then you cannot avoid being political. It means actually every decision I'm making every day
has to be political.
It's a political decision. But now I just escalated it to another level.
Yes.
Maybe my background. I was a student leader at the University of Nairobi. I was in SONU before it was disbanded. Then after it was disbanded, I was elected as the Secretary General of NUARSA, Nairobi University Student Arts Association.
Yes.
I was a contemporary of a few people that you may know. One of them is John Buddy. He was at finance while I was at arts. He was the chair at the finance students. I was secretary general at the arts students. In my election year, I bet somebody who should be well known to the Luo community. He's running for some position. He's called Cosmas Kanyadudi.
Yeah,
Kanyadudi, we vied for the same position and I beat him. And so I'm not new in politics.
You're not new in politics.
So,
but why presidency, Mr. Solomon Gichira? Then there is something here. When looking at your manifesto, I'm seeing something here written mtetezi or maskini. Then another side, it's written fighting system ya majambazi. Maybe you could come to that later on. But why presidency? Don't you think it's a seat maybe so high, and some people will even say maybe you are jokers or something like that?
Now, one thing is this.
Yes.
If, there's an advert that has been in the media,
yes, that's
saying that if you aim for small things, you also achieve little. But if you aim for big things, you also achieve big. So maybe that is one of my driving factors. That if you want to make big change in this country,
yes,
sometimes it's not you may want to go for a big position. And while you are while at it, you'll be able to infuse the ideas that you have, and they'll get a bigger platform for viewership or for audience, and through that you'll be able to, because my agenda is more of telling Kenyans that another Kenya is possible. The Kenya that we've been having is a Kenya for a few, what we would call like an oligarchy. But I'm trying to say that another Kenya is possible where everyone is on board. And if I try to do that as an MCA, I mean, that voice just ends down there. As an MP, again, it doesn't get a national forum.
Governor?
And a governor also, I have a problem with what we've been having as governors. They just become very parochial and taken over by the small interest around their place. And I think the money they get is a bit too overwhelming for them to even have the national agenda. They just become.
So you think presidency is the best for you?
I think my agenda would find the best forum at the presidency.
At the presidency.
Yes.
That's where you feel you could serve better.
Yes.
Mr. Solomon Gichira, there is mtetezi wa maskini hapa. Then again, there is something here, right? Fighting system ya majambazi. What do you mean fighting system ya majambazi? Who are these majambazi? Because I know the current regime is the Jubilee government. Is it the system you're referring us to, the system of majambazi?
That term is broader than just the Jubilee.
Okay, give us the definition.
Government, because if you look very carefully, for instance, when the issue of salaries come to Parliament, all parliamentarians, it doesn't matter where they're coming from.
It. Yes,
they gang together
to support the
and for me, that is what majambazis do. They gang together to protect their interests. So when it comes to interests of the ordinary person, the poor, the Wanjiko outside there, there's some political class, economic class, a certain social class that feels threatened by the agenda of Wanjiko, that it's going to eat into their pockets, into what they own, and so they don't want it to get a lot of prominence. And that is why,
so they fear when people like you come up and say, now we are running for presidency.
Of course, especially when you come out with those terms.
Why should they fear? Are you going to fight them when you get the seat? You're going to start fighting them, maybe to unmask whatever they've been doing?
You know, the problem is this. They are aware that a revolution starts with a whisper.
Yes.
And when that whisper gets an audience, then that is where things start changing. The constitution we have today did not just start from Parliament. It started with, in some places, River Road, or even in the estates with Anyona and all that. It
started as a whisper.
Yes, as a whisper. But finally, what did we have? We have a new constitution. And they were not very happy that we were getting that new constitution because it was taking away their comfort and their security, and now they are a little bit opened up than before to members of the public. And so when I'm saying Mimi, I'm mtetezi of the maskini. I'm trying to say that actually I don't consider myself a rich person. I consider myself as a poor president for the poor. That is our slogan. A
president for the poor. Where are you going to take the rich people? Because we can't also assume.
Fine, but they have. Since 1963, this country has been owned by the rich. The poor have been nowhere. And anytime the poor have been trying to raise their voice a bit, they are hit on their head and they have to lie low like envelopes. And the rich have had their way and they have had their say. What about the poor? It's time the poor came up. We cannot just say that because we want, like they say, the majority should have their way. And the minority should have their say. For 54 years, the minority here have had their way. It's time they had their say, while the majority have their way.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Solomon Gichira. Maybe moving on, because I've seen so many presidential candidates are currently campaigning. I haven't seen you anywhere campaigning, maybe in some counties or whatever. Are you really sure that Kenyans are ready to elect an independent candidate for that seat of presidency? And where have you been? Have you been campaigning, or are you just very sure that come August the 8th, you'll get the seat?
Okay, maybe let me start with the independent candidates aspect. I was very resolute from the word go. When it came to my mind that I have to run for the presidency, I say that I'm not going to run on a political party because I have my own my own convictions. And if you go back even to the history of the US, when it started, we did not even have political parties. They came way later, even after William Wilberforce, George Washington had become the president. Now, for me, the way I'm looking at political parties, especially the way they are conceived in this country today, they are not vehicles for they are not people's vehicles for any political agenda or economic agenda. These are, if for lack of a better word,
Yes.
they are formations that are aimed at capturing the minds of people, enslaving it, and directing it towards achieving an objective of individuals. If you ask me, all candidates that we have are independent candidates. It's only some of them have a platform called NASA. Another one has a platform called Jubilee.
Yes.
Another has a platform called That Way Alliance, and so. If you ask me, if, for instance, today, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta left Jubilee, Jubilee would be no more.
That's true.
So is that a political party? It's just about the personality.
It's easier to be a political party.
If Raila moved out of ODM, ODM would be no more.
Yeah, that's
so that is a personality cult. It's an issue of people worshipping an individual, but that is packaged as a political party. If you go to democracies where political parties are the main drivers, for instance, South Africa, ANC, people don't vote for the president. They vote the party. And then the party decides who their president is going to be. Here is not the case. We do the other way around. We elect personalities. So we are all independents, but some trying to show like they...
Thank you so much, Mr. Gichira. Maybe we're going to take a short break. Then when we come back, you'll tell us the efforts you've been making towards seeing that you succeed come August 8th. Or you'll tell us whether what does your success mean? Because I've been talking to you and then you tell me your success does not really mean taking the seat of presidency, but you want to transform Kenya and you want people to start thinking differently. This is Kuku Wach. We're going for a short break. My viewer, this is Kuku Wach with Jeff Oloo Mbaka. As I told you earlier, we have a presidential candidate, Peter Solomon Gichira, an independent candidate. Karibu tena.
Asante.
Salimia wenye wanatutazama.
Jambo, habari zenu. Nashukuru kuwa katika hii television niweze kuongea na nyinyi kidogo.
Asante sana Peter. Peter, moving forward now, we want to look at a bit of some of the things you put on your manifesto. I'm seeing the first thing here, you're talking about new poor government, constitution and law. Maybe you could expound a little bit on that point, number one, in your manifesto.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is this. You know, when you become very comfortable after making some very good progress, you end up being compromised, and you can even lose what you have had. So from 2010 we got a very progressive constitution.
2010.
Yes, but a few things happened after it was passed. And I think a process of watering it down started at that point.
Where?
Let's say, for instance, immediately we passed the constitution. We should have gone into an election, but the parliamentarians who were sitting in should not have been the ones. They should have gotten a new mandate for them to start working on the constitution. But that continuity made that caused them to start trying to work around the elections acts that are coming from the acts that are coming from the constitution to suit their interest, an interest which was continuity for them, so that they don't lose the power that they've already gotten used to. And so for me, I think for Kenyans to continue, the constitution is not as good as it should be. So we should keep revising it until it becomes the thing that we want. When we passed it, we said it was, is it 80% good, 20%?
It was to be amended.
It was to be amended. We need to move to that 20%. Actually, we realize it's not just 20. It is 25 or 27. And so we need to keep keeping that progress. And that is why I'm saying we need to, this time round, we need to inject a few things, a few radical ideas in there. For instance, the trying to address poverty from its very core, which has not really been accommodated in this constitution as it should have been. Because if you look, the ruling class of 1963 is still the one that is in power somehow. To date. I don't want to name names, but there are people who acquired their wealth in a way that around 63, between the Mau Mau period and 63 when we got independence. And that, we question that. For instance, the land reform agenda. Around 1963, before we became independent.
And I also see you talking, point number 3, you talk about land reallocation and redistribution.
Yes.
You know, land is a very sensitive issue. If you want to handle a land, it will cause some chaos here and there. How are you going to move? How are you going to go about this issue of land?
Let me say this. At independence, we had two political parties, KANU and KADU. Of course, they were both created by the whites, and the colonialists, not us as such. But there was an agenda that KADU wanted to address. And that is why they were pushing for devolution. Part of it was addressing the land issue. But also KANU, the real KANU, the first KANU, not the compromised KANU, which had...
The compromised KANU?
Yes. The KANU that had Kungu Karumba, Bildad Kagia, and Jaramogi Odinga, Oginga Odinga.
That was the real KANU?
That was the real KANU those days. And actually, I'm sometimes a bit bitter with Jaramogi, because he should not have let Kenyatta take the government.
Why?
Because that is where we lost it.
It was out of goodwill.
Kenyatta's, yes, but he misread Kenyatta. He thought Kenyatta is someone who meant his words. Who meant his words. Only later to realize Kenyatta was actually a turncoat. And that is where the compromises started. If we had the real KANU of that time, which was fighting for our freedom and land, we would be a very different country today. But because we got the KANU that was perpetuating the interest of the white colonialist that had been compromised, we never addressed the land question. For instance, for Kenyatta, the question of addressing land was to move the displaced Kikuyus by the native reserves, by the forceful acquisition of land by the settlers to the Rift Valley, to somebody else's land. What has that cost this country to date? A lot of mayhem in the Rift Valley. Yet, the land that those people are displaced for, it's owned by some people in Central Province. Kakuzi, Del Monte are seated on people's lands, and those people can really trace themselves where they came from. But we did not want to face that head on. We wanted to please the colonialists. And so, for us, if we want to heal...
So when you come to power, you will tackle the land issue.
Of course, we need to find out. Those leases came to an end long time ago. Why can those people go back to those lands?
You'll do whatever it takes.
We need to do that. If we want to set, for instance, Laikipia, why are we having issues in Laikipia? Because
the clashes every day.
Yes, because some people have come there and conned us that they are doing conservancies and been given land to conserve that which we've been conserving, our ancestors have been conserving, and what we've been conserving to date, our wildlife. Suddenly, Kenyans have been seen as a threat to their own wildlife. And so somebody has to come from England and US and Australia to protect wildlife from us. That is a fallacy. That land belongs to people there. Maasais and others, Samburus and others. They need to get back what belongs to them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Solomon Peter. Corruption, hard tackle in corruption. This is a very sensitive issue. I know you can't go away with corruption completely. I don't know the criteria or the procedure you're going to use to clear corruption. Why do you say you're going to tackle corruption hard?
I think.
What do you mean by hard? Hard tackle.
I'll just copy and paste.
Yes.
What is happening in Tanzania with Magufuli?
That is what you will do in Kenya.
And bring it here.
You'll Magulify Africa, or you'll Magulify Kenya.
Yes. The other day, what did they do? The Minister for Mines was sacked. Why? Because minerals were being stolen out of Tanzania in terms of not even packaged as minerals, as if it's soil. So they're saying they're exporting soil. But what was inside there? Actually, that was diamonds, that was gold. Magufuli intervened and said, we shall never be exporting raw products. We shall be processing it here and export the final product. And in that process, the minister had to go, and the roles are heading. We need to go to that.
Do you think the lords of corruption will give you opportunity to crack on corruption?
Have they given Magufuli the opportunity in Tanzania? It's about will. If the head is willing to roll things. I mean, okay, we know there are other issues.
Yes.
Like in the DRC, we know how Desere Kabila was assassinated around trying to do the same thing. That is a that is a risk that you take anytime when you are doing any public service. So you don't have to.
So it's a risk you are willing to take.
That is a risk.
Tell me about a national security overhaul. Do you think our security systems are a bit reluctant, or why do you want to overhaul the security systems? Okay,
one, the reform agenda
yes.
has never been taken, has never received the kind of political will it needs. And so we need to really be a bit tougher on how we go about reforming the security sector. But not even that for me. My issue is this. We are losing more Kenyans within our borders than the threat that is created. I think a fictitious threat that has been created in our minds about the Al-Shabaab.
Yes.
For me, I would want to do this, and this is very radical. I would want actually to abolish the KDF.
Abolish the KDF?
And convert it to the police.
Police.
Retrain guys who are 45 years and below. Those who are above that, I'll retire them. Remember, I told you I retired at 44 years.
Yes.
I believe you should not be in employment until 45. You should retire earlier.
What does that mean? If you are in employment till 45, 46, that is mean you are unsuccessful?
No, it means you are occupying, you're becoming a stumbling block for others.
For other people.
You should just move out. You've earned, you've gained experience, and you are ready for the world.
Yes.
So you should move out there and create employment for others and leave the youth to come in.
Okay, going back to
the KDF.
Yes.
I'm saying those who are 45 years and below should be retrained to become policing officers. And then we can have what we call maybe the border security police.
Yes.
But, and then what that would mean is that the big budget that is allocated to the KDF every year, which goes more not to salaries, but to hardware, military hardware, it shall be moved to other sectors. The police itself, health, education, and even social welfare, like for the aged and the disabled.
So you're not supporting the initiative where our soldiers are in Somalia?
Okay, I think that was created with a different rationale, not what you are told. The justification that 2 white people were abducted in Lamu or something like that, and for that reason KDF had to move to Somalia, it is very hollow. It doesn't hold. But when you are talking about safeguarding our own people, because we lose more Kenyans inside the boundary, our borders, because of lack of the police. We don't have enough numbers. Why don't we have these guys who have been sitting, before that war in Somalia, these guys have been sitting in barracks since 1963, other than those peacekeeping missions. Why don't we put them to a better use? We don't, I mean, they just sit in barracks.
Unemployment of the youth, Solomon.
And that is what I'm saying.
Yes.
If people were to retire at 45 years old, you know, at 45 years you are not about to die. You know? Because the current thing is this. You retire at 60 or 65, and what happens? You are not even ready because you thought you have a lot of time to plan yourself. So you retire at 60, 65, 5 years down the line, you are sick, you die. Why don't we retire people early? And they know that from
at
the
44.
At 45.
At 45.
I retire myself 1 year earlier. Retire at 45. That way, you know that you have a very long life to live after retirement. So you cannot take things for granted. You'll plan yourself for the life after retirement. But also let us look at employment as a phase in life, where like youth, employment becomes, we have a phase of school, then we have a phase of employment, and then we have a phase of you becoming an employer.
Yes.
You go out there, create employment for others.
Yes.
So, but if you take employment as a career where you're just sitting
Yes.
until you die, then what is that saying? It's saying that you're not creating opportunities for others who are coming. And so for me, an issue of unemployment, one of it to tackle it is let people reorient themselves about employment. Live early, do other things.
How will your government foster or champion devolution?
Okay, devolution for me is very pertinent to the new constitution and development of people. If you go to countries like Switzerland, devolution is really entrenched. Now, for me, devolution is not just devolution of functions as it is today. It is even devolution of representation. For instance, I'm saying this, and that is in number 2 in our manifesto.
Yes.
Citizen representation needs also to be devolved, where responsibilities are taken from the national level to the county level. And so, for me, we don't need this thing called Senate. We don't need this thing called women representatives.
The Senate.
Yes.
And the women reps.
Even the women rep. Even Parliament as it is today, we need to
The
reconfigure it. Yes. We'll need members of Parliament, members of the National Assembly, not really MPs as it is today coined. But the National Assembly, because it is, we require to do what are called national legislations. Now, how do we go about that? We devolve the entire issue of representation to 3 levels. 1 is the ward level, 2 is the county level where we have the governor, and 3 is the national level where we have the presidency. So we have those 3 levels.
Yes.
Then we put a lot of emphasis on the ward level.
So you need an MCA, you need a governor, you need the president.
Yes, but put a lot of emphasis on the ward. Like that is where things happen.
Yeah.
And so let the ward be facilitated. Let us have all these things you call CDF and what, all folded, and we have that at the ward level, and have it with a bigger kitty, and where people participate in decision making. We are calling them citizens barazas, where citizens at the ward level sit down and decide what it is important for them in that ward, and they develop their own development agenda. That development agenda shall be revisited 4 times in a year, every quarter. But that one is taken now to the county level, where from each ward it is taken now to the county level. And it is discussed as the county development agenda. And all these wards are bringing their agendas to the county. And so the county is able to sieve through and see the common thread within the county and say this is what the county needs to do as our development agenda. Now, for each county, that happens twice every year. Then for each county, that is taken up to the national level. And so at the national level, when the government is devolving funds, is allocating funds to the county government, it knows where those funds are going to. That changes the whole paradigm of development from that one where you hear today, and the deputy president is very fond of this, saying tumepeleka development. Development is not supposed to be taken. It's not something that should be parachuted from up there. It's something that should be like a mushroom coming from the grassroots, going up. And so we want to change the whole system to become like a mushroom. Let things start down there with the people going upwards. And so what the government, whenever, if it generates, it collects taxes, those taxes, we know where they are going exactly. And that way we shall be able to point, this is our development agenda, this one is not, this is corrupted, this one is, we are able to track how the government is utilizing its
As a
resources.
candidate, do you think IBC is ready for elections?
No, they are not.
They are not ready.
They are
Why?
not ready. Elections are not just about the day of voting.
When you say they're not ready, so we should postpone the election.
Okay. I've even called for that. I've even said that, okay, because I'm saying this, elections are not just about the day of voting. And that is what IBC is making a mistake about. Just thinking about dropping your ballot paper. And that is why it is obsessed with this thing of ballot papers being printed. that is not the issue. The issue is, how are we getting to the ballot?
Yes.
And if you look at that process, IBC completely, it's out of touch with the reality on the ground. One, people have never been educated about voting.
Yeah.
So voter education has not taken place. The voter register is still very much messed. It's very dirty. Personally, I've gone to some places where I collected signatures from, and because I've been having an issue with IBC about my signatures. Yeah. And so I went and tried to check within their register ID numbers of people. Yeah. So I keyed somebody in Makueni, a name appears in Siaya, the same ID number. A name appears in Siaya. I went back to Makueni with those names which have appeared in different places, not just Siaya, Siolo and I go back to Makueni and ask, can I meet these people? And I meet them. I look at the IDs. The IDs are reading exact as it is here. So who is this suddenly in Siaya, in Isiolo, in Kiambu, with an ID from somebody in Makueni? What does that mean for the person in Makueni? It means when they go to vote, they shall not be allowed to vote because their name is not in the register. And so we should have taken time to clean the register and give people confidence that the elections we are getting into is going to be credible.
So do you think this is going to compromise on the credibility?
Of course, it's compromised already, and I've taken up upon myself the duty of going to court to challenge several things. And I think we are building up a case to a point where after these elections, anybody who wants to go to the Supreme Court, including ourselves, can use the evidence that we have collected to challenge the results of these elections.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Solomon Gichira. Where are you campaigning currently? So far, I haven't seen you campaigning anywhere. Yet you are here with me today talking about being a president of Kenya, the 5th president of Kenya.
Now, you know, there's ours is a candidature that is trying to tell Kenyans that things can be done differently. And so for us, the big rallies that the big two are getting engaged in, that is not our approach. Because our approach is, we have coordinators in different counties. And so what we are doing with those coordinators is that they are putting together like conferences for us, and we are able to invite people to attend, like barazas, let's call them barazas, to attend those barazas. And in those barazas, we have like a one-on-one with the people. And so we are able to articulate to them, telling them, this is what we want to do. This is what we feel is wrong. This is how we want to correct it. And we want you to be on board. And you want you to be on board this way, including voting us.
So you're confident of winning the August polls?
I'm going to win.
You're going to win. You're going to be the 5th president of Kenya.
I'm going to be, okay, I can qualify that. I'll be the 5th president of Kenya in 2 ways. One,
2 ways?
Yes.
What are the ways?
Being physically in office, elected as the president. 2, Kenyans might decide otherwise, that I should not be the one in that office. But
you shall have won?
Yes. How? But the ideas that I have shared with them will have shaped this country for years to come. And so with that, I have not lost. I've also discussed with Kenyans what possibilities we have for this country in the future. And so for that, I have not lost. I think the notion of take and lose everything and win everything, the winner takes it all mentality, I think we should do away with that. When you get into a process, you should see beyond just the medal, the prize. The prize comes in many ways. And so for me, being in this and being able to talk to Kenyans and infuse with them a new way of thinking, it's a big win for me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Solomon Gichira, for making time for us in studio. This is Lolwe TV, Kuku watching me, Jeff Oloo Mbaka. We wish you all the best. If you become the president, let's hope Kenya is going to change as you put it today.
Asante.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.